Is going on, everybody? Welcome to the weekly astrology forecast for the week of August 30th through September 5th of 2021. Astrologer Brian Scarborough here, Fixed Air Moon, keeping the collective fixed on astrology. Definitely stoked to have you here. I'm gonna wait a couple minutes before I start just cranking it out, see if people get in the chat and see the chat and make sure that people can hear me. Although I see my mic levels are bouncing, so probably won't have the same issue that I ran into last week. But I hope everybody's doing well. Looking forward to this week. It's a powerful week. They all are. Life is powerful right now. It's a good way to look at it. There's a lot going on in our reality, in our world. So, any viewers come in, let me know that you can hear me. And yeah. What's going on, Mark? Appreciate you for joining, brother. Good. Good. I'm doing good. I feel good. Last week was a little rough. The week before was a little rough. But I feel good tonight. I'm ready. I'm here. Yo, Frederico. What's up, brother? All right. We got some of the fam in the house, so let's start talking about this week. It is an interesting week. We are going to see Mercury first thing. It's actually kind of curious. I didn't look at what time the ingress would be. It might be right about now. Right about now. Not yet, but we are going to see that Mercury ingress into Libra at about 10 p.m. on the West Coast. So yeah, we're about an hour, a little under an hour, or a little over an hour away from Mercury's ingress into Libra. So that's a big start this week. Um, Mercury's gonna be in Libra for a long time. So I mean, let's just till November 5th. So we get this extended stay of Mercury in Libra, which is diplomatic. It has us definitely weighing things out. We've had this Mercury go through its home, not only its home, but its exaltation of Virgo here. So we've had this very strong, analytical, to the point, get things together, figure things out. It's kind of, it gets to the bottom in Virgo. It really does. So we've definitely analyzed a lot and thought about a lot of things. There's been plenty of life to think about and plenty of reality to think about. And now we go into Libra this week, and it's going to be there for a long time. It's going to retrograde, square Pluto 3 times. Make good aspects to Saturn, which we are going to see a trine to Saturn this week from that Mercury. And it's also going to trine the North Node in Gemini. So, with that North Node being in Gemini and the dispositor being Mercury, which I talk about all the time, but this is a nice mix. I mean, Mercury likes air. Libra is, of course, cardinal air. I think we're getting a lot of our decision process of where this future's going kind of like looked at here this week. It's like, gotta focus on our environment. I think we have to justify and kind of like lay the law down for a lot of things that we have already understood and figured out mentally, especially with the trine to Saturn and the trine to the North Node. Like, it's a grand trine in air. It's very mental, but Mercury and Saturn in trine is a pretty nice aspect. Like, definitely gives you the power to like put your mind to something and stick to it, or get some plans figured out. But it's Libra, so like Libra's a little wishy-washy with Mercury. It's like, should I plan for this? Should I plan for that? Where's this? What's the aesthetic gonna be over here? What's it gonna look like over here? But the thing is it came after Virgo, of course. It always does. So we've been able to really like pinpoint a lot of things. So now it's time to, be that judge, jury for ourselves this week, and like follow through, I think, with some of the plans that we want to make and some of the decisions that are going to bring more of that aesthetic and that beauty into our life. Definitely don't want to get caught just two of coins, two of pentacles this week, like juggling. It's going to feel juggly too. This is the week that we get Mars, of course, in opposition to Neptune, and there's a lot of Neptunian aspects. Venus is also going to be in those later degrees here of Libra. It's going to quincunx Neptune while Mars is in opposition. Finish off the week with a Venus square Pluto. Whew. there's lots of these dedications, lots of these big decisions to make in our life this week, and it's like, are we gonna be stuck and like hit with a tidal wave? It's kind of crazy, right? Like what the Gulf Coast is going through right now on the anniversary of Katrina. They're going through another situation like that. So thoughts and prayers, of course, to the people being affected in New Orleans by this hurricane. Like that's very Mars in opposition to Neptune, which we're already starting to feel right now. But of course, it exacts Wednesday into Thursday. I mean, it kind of feels energetically like a storm is coming. Obviously, physically, a storm has come. How do we get through the storm, right? I think that, it's a little paralyzing having Mars, which is our warrior, it's our identification, in opposition to Neptune, which is pretty much the great nothing. It's like this big illusionary aspect, but of course it links up very closely with spirituality and the faith in God and the faith in like consciousness and how all things come together. So we're at this tug of war between our identity, trying to identify with reality here in Virgo and, pinpoint these things and be this well-oiled machine for the aspects of how we want to purify our identity in our life. And now we're facing up against this no boundaries tidal wave of Neptune. And I think we have to learn how to surf the wave of life right now. And yeah, it might slow us down a little bit. It's going to slow that Mars down, and Mars is, moving full speed ahead. So Venus is starting to kind of slow down a little bit. Mercury's slowing down a lot this week as it gets ready, of course, to spend its vacation here in Libra and retrograde on September 25th or 26th. So, as we come into September here, it's like the mind's going to slow down. We got to get caught back up. Mercury's way out in front of the sun right now. So, there is this need to kind of take a step back and slow down. And maybe that Mars opposition to Neptune is giving us this like, slow down, have faith, don't lose yourself, learn how to ride the waves, learn how to like see through the illusions in life. And then use that, spiritual essence, use that discernment and connection to all things to make powerful decisions. And right after we get Mars in opposition to Neptune, of course, it's going to trine Pluto, which is dope. Those are very much our desire planets here. Of course, Pluto is these deep emotional desires that we want within ourselves. A lot of them are subconscious. But Mars, of course, is more the identification of those desires. They are octaves of each other. Mars being the lower octave of our egoic desires, and Pluto being these like soul desires, if you will. So they're making a very nice aspect in Earth. And of course, Pluto is getting ready to kind of like stop here at 24 degrees and then be on a straight collision course to the United States Pluto. And Pluto does go direct on October 6th, I believe. Might be the 9th, but I think it's the 6th. Just in case you guys are wondering, I don't like have notes. I just talk. Just talk to you guys about the astrology. I don't have anything going on here. So I think it's the 6th. I'm pretty sure it is, if I remember correctly. Desires, big decisions, with Mercury here in Libra about relationships. Can't not talk about relationships. Venus and Mercury here in Libra. And of course, Venus is going to make that square over to Pluto while Mars is in trine to that Pluto. Like, whoa. A lot of things maybe we have to take a step back and like make sure we're seeing the aesthetic we want. Make sure that we're seeing that within the relationships we keep, within our environment, within our home life, within the relationship to ourself even, and not forget about that. But it's usually changes that come up with Venus in square to Pluto. It's usually bringing out like having to let go. I kind of like Venus and Pluto squares because I think it has us like grow and make moves for our values, our relationships. It takes some stagnant energy away. And we could be feeling stagnant midweek, especially Wednesday. Wednesday is kind of Yod City. We're going to have the moon in Cancer, making it sextile to the sun in Virgo. And they're going to make a yod to Saturn in Aquarius. And then there's another yod from Saturn to the south node to the moon in Cancer. And there's kind of a wide yod between Saturn, Chiron to the sun in Virgo. So like Wednesday is probably like, if I was going to put a day of the week that was like the most interesting to me, and with Mars in opposition to Neptune, like that Wednesday would be like the star day. I might plug my iPad in and show the chart. If not, we'll definitely talk about it, and I'll pull the charts this week for those who watch the dailies. Super interesting day. Super interesting because there's so many fingers of God's pointing in these different directions, but a lot of it's pointing to the moon. A lot of it's pointing to the Saturn in us and these things that we need to dedicate to, and are also like our integrity to like what do we want to connect with. Saturn's also going to come back to 7 degrees in retrograde this week, so that's another interesting movement to the 7th degree, which is a spiritual degree. It is Neptunian in itself and Piscean. There's a lot of like deep spiritual authority that we need to have for ourselves. I need a sip of water. I apologize. There's like spiritual growth for sure that we're all going through right now, because it's like if you're getting so caught up in reality right now, which is easy to get caught up in. I've been doing it like this last weekend, like it was not an easy one for me. Like I was definitely really looking at reality very critically, and I didn't like what I was seeing. Like I'll be very honest, like it's hard out. It's hard looking around at the landscape of what's going on in the world, and keeping a positive attitude and keeping like this high vibe sort of energy up. And Saturn at 7 of Aquarius in retrograde with yods connecting to it. There's a lot of our spiritual like dedication that we have to come back to, and that frequency that uplifts us and connects us and lets us look at things objectively. I think that there's importance to that. And of course, the nice trine over to Mercury this week is gonna help with that, but it's like getting through that wave of Neptune, getting through that like stagnation, and using the very creative aspects that are going on. Like there's very like channeled creativity that can be acted on, and then desires can be moved in that direction. And I think that is a part of the integrity too with Pluto and Capricorn, and the aspects to Mars with the trine this week is like there's integrity to make these changes that are going to be more happy, more spiritually connected, more raising up the vibration to bring in and attract the life that is ultimately going to connect you to the heart more. We want to remember too, this is an interesting week because for the last few weeks we've definitely had like either a moon square, which we do kind of get a little bit like early Monday morning, the moon square. As right now as I'm talking, we have the sun square the nodes. But this week we don't get like a new lunation. That comes next Monday. So we're kind of like going through this week and then getting into a dark moon in Leo and closing out this Leo lunation cycle that we're in with 2 full moons in Aquarius. Definitely like, gosh, got to connect to matters of the heart here. Like I think we've seen where we can be objective and, realize how human we all are. But then we also have to come back and remember our own special part of our own unique human, and the love and the courage that it takes to keep raising up right now when there's so many aspects of life that are trying to pull you down. And I think that that's one of the great challenges this week is like finding positivity in the storm of reality is a good way to put it. And like being able to shift and mold and create, and to not feel like your happiness is darkness, because that dark moon in Leo is kind of like it's kind of bittersweet, especially coming into the weekend with squares from Venus to Pluto and a dark moon in Leo. It's like, am I allowed to have happiness? Am I allowed to grab onto something that I love, that I think is beautiful, or the people that I thought were part of the tribe or the connection? Like there can definitely be some of that like doubt this week of like, fuck, like I thought I had this shit figured out. And I think that, it's hard to have everything figured out, especially with the South Node in Sag. And the nodes are getting ready to make their ingress into Taurus and Scorpio, and that won't happen until January of next year, but it's like when the North Node gets closer to the end of a sign, of course they go in retrograde motion, so it's in these like this first decan of Gemini here, but it's more like the third decan of Gemini for the nodes because of the way that they go through. That North Node becomes very strong, so I think we're all like realizing we don't have as much figured out as maybe we thought we did, especially with the South Node in Sag. Like I think there was all maybe a time where we're all like, no, I got this figured out. This is the end all be all. This is what's going on. This is the biggest truth in reality right now. And it's like, no, now there's a lot of different information. And I've even seen people, pivot from their stance that I didn't think would. I kind of thought initially, we're so split as a collective. Like if you believe one thing or one side of any story right now, you're probably going to stick to that belief. But I've seen people like take in new information and be like, well, some of it's jab related. I have a friend who, got it. And of course, I have no judgment for people who get it. I don't personally believe in it, but I do believe in freedom of choice. So it's like, if you think it's going to help you, by all means, I am not going to tell you not to do anything. And she ended up, there's been information and things have shown up in life. And it's like, she's noticed that people that have gotten the vaccine still can get the virus and still can get this. So it's like, okay, that's information that showed up that kind of like shifted a perspective where it's like, it's interesting to see a shift of perspective right now. So, definitely like props for just, I guess, that, because that's like the greatest truth right now is information can come in at any time and shift things up. So I think that North Node's very strong. So we're seeing a lot of information about a lot of different things in reality right now. And we want to dedicate to what's going to give us the most beauty, but still be open to the change. We're going to see that Mercury trine the North Node, like I mentioned earlier. So this is, there's definitely a balance here. And I think it's like the balance of weighing out information to make a smart decision with Saturn in trine 2 and the grand trine that's taking place there. Like there's so much. We got to see both sides. The more hermetic, the better. The more you can look at all angles and be objective with the Aquarius energy. And Jupiter, of course, is going to move back to 25 degrees, which is interesting too. Jupiter at 25, Saturn at 7 in Aquarius, like definitely very 7, very spirit. There's very spiritual essence to this week with those outer planets and the degrees that they're making. And, the being able to be compassionate too with Pisces energy and like still make decisions for yourself, still move in a direction that's going to bring your life beauty, not be afraid of your heart and your wants and needs, but to have compassion for other people's wants and needs and the decisions that they're making, and being able to not, it doesn't matter what other people want to do. It matters, about what you want to do and connecting to people that want to do those things too. And that's what's going to make people happy right now is being with their tribe, being with people that see life and reality in the same lens, which could be any view on it. But it's like finding those similarities, that twin-like energy even. In the midst of like, if you're not seeing that twin-like energy with Venus square Pluto by the end of the week, it's like, okay, like there's no energetic match here. Does that mean anything's wrong? Does that mean that they're wrong? Does that mean that I'm wrong? Not necessarily. Doesn't mean anybody's wrong. It just means that you're, having to get through the shadow of your own heart and your own identification of the life that's going to make you happy. And if you're not getting that reflection in someone else this week, you're going to want to have to, I don't want to say you're going to have to do anything, but you're going to want to be able to like let that go or have those conversations or, justify things and come to a decision, come to a balance point, which is not easy. I feel like it's not an easy week to find balance. I feel like the scales are constantly going to be going in this like fluctuation. And the sun starts off the week with a quincunx to Saturn. Like that is not like a fun quincunx, I'll be honest. And it's Saturn at 8 degrees and the sun at 8 degrees of Virgo. So not only are the sun in Virgo quincunx Saturn, but it's at Saturn's degree. Very karmic. There's places in life that we just have to like make our own rules in reality. And I think that that's what's going to make people happy, because there's so many people throughout the world right now that are like following rules, and it's messing with their mental health. It's messing with them feeling like they're stuck, like they can't mold and create reality, like they lost their magic in a lot of ways. And this is where it's like you kind of have to make your own rules here, like that vibe with the direction you want to go, that vibe with like your own personal integrity, and to like just do those things. So it's kind of a blocky week to start out. I would say starting out the week with Sun quincunx Saturn, because there's aspects of reality that want to control us, and then there's people, and there's a lot of aspects of reality right now where individuals are grabbing their power and saying, I don't want to be controlled anymore, which I think is beautiful. As a very Uranian individual with a Aquarius moon and Sun Uranus, like breaking free, breaking chains. Kind of have to do that to find the happiness, and that's where like the shadow of this dark moon is coming into, because it's almost like you're going to want to push boundaries. You're going to want to do things to live a life that's going to make you have, or at least feel like you're getting the purity of life that you desire. And there's outer forces and outer authorities and governments and all these things right now that are like, no, you can't do that. You have to be scared, or you have to be upset, or you have to dislike this person, or they voted for Trump, so they suck. You should hate him. Like, what? Like, does that really make somebody a good person or a bad person? All those things? Jab, unjab, who you voted for. I know, I'm not really. If you look at the definition of liberal, I am very liberal. If you look at that definition, but I'm not, like, I don't really associate much with that party. I still have friends that do. I still love people. Like, who cares? I may not hang out with them every day. I may not like bring them into my circle, and which is very tight these days. But you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, we have that choice. But does that mean that I think that they're just a bad person? No. And even if it was flipped the other way, like, this is where we have to find compassion. We're trying to spiral up here, and everything in reality is trying to keep us like lower chakras, root chakra, survival, which it can kind of feel like survival with Mars in trine to Pluto. Like, I need to make a change to survive. That, that's some root chakra shit for sure. I need to make a change to get my reality in a place to where I can build the life I want and have it, be something stable and strong. A lot of that. And I think that that's where we can. And there's a lot of magic in that. There's a lot of magic in the spiritual, essence of things, and still remembering that oneness, still remembering the wholeness of life. And that's the wholesomeness too here with Virgo season, is like, yeah, reality is real as fuck. It's real as shit, but there's still like more than meets the eye, and there's still like this connectiveness. So we want to like remember that, still push, still like grab a hold of our heart's wants and needs and desires and truth, but let other people have theirs. And like, gosh, the more we come together and just have an objective understanding of like, yeah, they see life through a different lens. That's okay. Everybody has had a different experience of life. Like, you can't expect everybody to want to do the same thing. And that's part of the problem with the world right now, is that's what's being forced on people, is everybody do the same thing. That doesn't work good. That's not fun. There's no growth. We have to remember that we're all here to live out an individual journey, to grow and evolve on an individual level, and to not like forget your shine, to not forget your individual destiny and your individual spark and your individual creativity, and use that, because that's where there's so much pure energy in that life force. And being able to still like look out and acknowledge the human in someone else is a pretty beautiful and pretty rare thing from what I've seen in life. And this week, the more you can do that in the midst of the storm, metaphysically and physically, that's upon us energetically, like, big time upgrades. Like, our physical senses are getting an upgrade. Our psychic senses are getting an upgrade. There's a lot of things that are really like powerful, especially metaphysically, that are taking place on this planet for people right now. And maybe that's woo woo for some people, but we're spiraling up. We're growing in consciousness right now. A lot of that comes with evolution. A lot of that comes with like taking the next step into that growth and to not stay in the past, to not stay in the same. So that's where we're having to let go of a lot of things that we want to like hold on to. Remember, Venus is the ruler of Taurus, Libra as well, and it's in Libra. But these are the things that we hold on to desperately. Like people will hold on to money and not spend it. People will hold on to little knickknacks and physical things that they treasure. And it's like, how much are those treasures of value right now for your own spiritual growth? And are you willing to let go of some things in life that don't? And these are just analogies. I'm not saying you gotta like let go of something you love, but it's like there's things about this physical world that, do they even like matter anymore? And that's kind of like coming into some of the stuff that it looks like this world is progressing into, be it verification systems for your show your papers. Like, I've been going through it this week with that here in California. They're trying to slip a bill in. It's a gut and amend bill. So they took a traffic bill and they started this on Thursday and they're trying to rush it through and vote on it Monday. And they took a traffic bill and they gutted it and they made it about mandates and verification to go into gas stations, to go into shops, markets, like a lot of things that we've been so accustomed to in our physical world, to get the things that we want and the little, you know. So very shady, for one, how California, did it through that process. They should have made a bill. That's a big deal. And to gut a bill and do a gut and amend and try and slip it through without nobody seeing was like, see, that's the shady stuff around that like really makes me question the validity of it. Like, if it's really that important, if it's really something that's so necessary, why wouldn't you just do the due process? Why would you try and sneak it through? Like, sneaky shit. So that might be a thing that I might have to deal with. And I'm telling that story because, well, maybe a shop that I like to go to, I really like a drink shop. They serve elixirs and teas. Maybe they're going to make me show my papers to go in, which I don't have. I don't want to, I'm not going to play that game. So what? I don't get those anymore. I let go of those little tasty drinks that I enjoy so much, and I drink water. I get my water from a spring. I fill up water bottles. Here's one right here. It's delicious. It comes from the earth. I drink that all day, every day. So, like, yeah, I will have to let go of something. So that's kind of like something we're at this week too, and facing is like, okay, there's this system in play to try and control, to try and divide and segregate. And are we going to, what do we do about that? Like, that's the thing. I don't know. For me, it's, not playing that system. So we all have to like find different ways to be self-sufficient, especially coming into next year with the North Node coming into Taurus. This is a great week, like a great test to like see how self-sufficient you could be and what you really need and what you really don't need. I know, kind of crazy, but seriously, kind of like prepping for that, because it's looking like scarcity's coming, whether it's through that or whether it's through, you can see that, there's goods that are not ending up on shelves right now. So we're looking at a lot of different variables as these nodes shift coming into next year. And Saturn's been squaring Uranus, and we're getting that exact square from Helio in October. And then we're getting the exact third hit in December from the Geo. So reality is completely unstable and completely changing. And we're going to have to be somewhat like, one, this North Node Gemini was having us think and be smart and take information and make moves about it. And this Virgo season's helping us like pinpoint the physical that we need. as we start to move into what do we really need and can we acquire and get it ourselves? Are we connected to the right people and groups to help us get through it? Important things to think about. Not so much this week, but this is where things are going right now. Where things are going. So, we're going to see the Sun quincunx Chiron. That's kind of a weird one. Chiron, of course, has been getting a lot of aspects, and even Mercury is getting ready to oppose it, which won't happen this week. It'll happen next week. But yeah, I've had to deal with Venus oppose it, the squares to it in Cancer season. We're dealing with a lot of our own like wounds about our identity and our individuality and what we have, what we need, what we value to move forward and to continue to move forward. And that can be the hard part with Chiron in Aries is the progression forward with our identities and getting those things figured out and getting things pinpointed with the sun in Virgo and the sun coming into the second decan of Virgo, which is a nice little shift too that we're going to get this week, which is like that first decan, of course, is pretty self-critical. You know, I know last week and that first week of Virgo season, like I was very critical of myself and my environment and the changes I need to make in my reality, which involve moving and they involve a lot of different things really about the way I live. Very critical of that, but then it comes into this second decan where it takes this next level up. Like it's way more about, okay, you were critical about these things, now what do you do about them? It puts the one in front of the number. So in Christopher Witecki's step astrology, you know, that one is the I. It's like the sun's number. It's your identification. So it's like 11 degrees is you identify with yourself. That's the most self-critical degree. So we also get that sun coming to the 11th degree of Virgo, which is extremely self-critical and like hyper analytical of self, with a quincunx to Chiron, which is 11 in his system too. And he gives Chiron rulership over Virgo, which I tend to agree with. I would give it exaltation in Sagittarius. Yeah, that's what I would do. So if Chiron had a home, it'd be Virgo. And here we have that 11th degree, quincunx Chiron, with the sun there. So it's extremely hypercritical, but then it goes into the 12th degree and the 13th, which we're going to end the week on here, which is, you know, you have to feel into your environment. You have to feel into your reality and the criticalness and those things. And then you have to believe. So we're coming into this like very, very critical week of really identifying with not only our emotions and what we need and what we want and who is going to be in that, but how do we expand upon these things and open these doors? And what's crazier is Monday when we get the new moon in Virgo, which won't be a part of this week, but I mean, it's an exact trine to Uranus. Venus is going to be in trine to Jupiter, but still in that square point with Pluto, and Mars and Pluto will still be in their trine as well. But, woo! Talk about changes coming up quick. I mean, this is where people can reinvent their reality. That's what that new moon's going to be about. Of course, we'll talk about that more when it comes, but just to kind of show like where this week's progressing and even just where like everything's going. It's very interesting times. Anyways, maybe I'll take a look at the chat, see what's going on. A few viewers in here. Hello, Yvette. Yeah. I do hope you're all doing very well. Hello, Jolene. Nice to see you. It's good. I think this week's like definitely going to give us that critical look at what's going to bring us the aesthetic we do want and how to figure out ways to be a little bit more self-sufficient and to keep people in our lives that want to help us build, that want to help us get through things. So we're seeing tribe for sure. We do, you know, we finish off this week Sunday with Venus almost in trine to Jupiter, but that's definitely nice too that we get for that new moon. The two benefics in trine is definitely like, the people in our lives are really the gift, the relationship. So we're seeing, gosh, I'll be honest, like this Libra season with Mars in Libra, the Sun, Mercury retrograde square Pluto, and even Venus in Libra square Pluto, like, I mean, this is definitely like breakup season. I'll be honest. Like, people get excited for Libra. They're like, "Oh, Libra season! I might get in a relationship." Like, I don't know about this one. Like, this one is. It could be both. I'm not gonna say it's just breakup season. I think people could be finding a lot of tribe and a lot of that like beautiful connection to others that they're looking for. But it's almost like something's got to give one way or another. Maybe it's just within the changes you have to make in your own reality for that person to manifest and show up. As we're dealing with Pluto squares, like sometimes it's a give and a take with Pluto squares. It's like you can't have it all, but you can still have something. It's almost like something. It's entries and exits, right? And then we're coming into Venus, ingressing into Scorpio, which is not like a fun place for Venus. So we get a fall Venus, a detriment Venus, not a fall Venus. We get a detriment Venus, we get a detriment Mars, and a falled Sun, and a Mercury retrograde. That's a lot of, yeah, that's a lot. So we have a lot to do. And, Wednesday is September 1st, so don't forget to say rabbit, rabbit, because I think we could all use some good luck. Um, like, we have the good luck. We have everything we need. Like, we came here for these changes. We came here to do this stuff. And I think a lot of it's remembering that this week. And, you know, that Mars opposition to Neptune can show us a lot about ourselves. Like, if we're willing to, like, see things and not just, I don't know, like, there's a storm. I think that's very like obvious. This is energetic storm as well as of course the physical one that's happening right now, but being able to like get into that energetic storm and literally like surf it and own up to whatever it is that needs to make a change so that you can go pedal to the metal with Mars trine Pluto to finish the week and like take those desires to the next level. So a lot of creativity can come out of that. It might be just midweek that you have to take like a little bit of a break from maybe pushing so hard because that's like pushing through the muddiest of the mud. There's no mud. It's just water. And I don't know, like I don't think Mars is a warrior, right? I always picture Aries Mars as like kind of like a Spartan soldier in my mind. Like I wonder how well Mars can swim. Like I don't really look at him as like a Navy SEAL or a Marine, you know what I'm saying? So we're going to have to like see within ourselves like energetically how well we can swim through this week to like get to this next level and like use this for where these desires are going to go and these big dedications and these decisions that Mercury trine Saturn are going to help us make and Mercury trine the North Node are going to help us make these decisions. So I think mentally, if we're not getting lost in the nothingness, the big nothing burger that a lot of reality is being thrown, a lot of it is a nothing burger, you know. And I say that because, like, I got COVID recently and I still do it daily. I was fine, So that's why it makes it harder. I realize that it affects people differently, so I'm not trying to say that it's just every single person, but getting it makes it harder to understand why the world is up in shambles because I've had food poisoning that was a million times worse. I've had the flu back in the day that was 100 times worse. I literally just thought I had like the keto flu. So like this nothing burger that's changing our life, but it's more than that. It's more than all of that that's going on. There's so much more. So I don't want to like just put it on like that one thing because it's more than that because that's a world scale and that's like going on and that's important, but it's we have to also, look at the little things in our life that we're maybe blowing up out of proportion or not looking at intensely enough so that we can find the most happiness and make the greatest changes in our life. So you know, not just biting into a nothing burger, but finding things of substance and like maybe taking that second this week to like come back into self, like come back into your spiritual essence to find out what is the substance of reality that you do want so that you can go pedal to the metal with those desires. Well, I think that's all I got. I'll pull a card. I'll pull a card. I don't think I missed any important transits. Talked about yods, trines, squares, quincunxes. Talked a little bit about the future. Talked a little bit about the upcoming new moon. That's exciting. It's an exciting new moon. It's wild. Blows my mind. I mean, it's minutes. It's like a literally one, I think 1 minute geometry away from the exact trine to Uranus. We're coming into some very inventive times, and it's the changes. It's being willing to invent these things, being willing to do it the different, weird way. There's goodness there, big time. Oh yeah, Mars is gonna quincunx Jupiter to finish off the week. Not even exact though, so like that's the thing. It's like that kind of hits Monday for the new moon. So yeah, I think I covered everything I wanted to talk about. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. Card for the week, the Three of Wands in reverse. Damn. I mean, I don't know how much we want to look out into this expanse. It's much more critical and hyper focused on our environment right now. So like we really want to pay attention to these things in our own life that do need a change when it's almost like woo, we are on the precipice of seeing some really weird shit in the world, but it's good to be aware of that stuff, but intuitively and with this card, I just feel like we got to kind of focus closer in. The greatest expanse this week is going to be internal expanse. There's physical expanse to come, but it's like this is a much more internalized one that you want to identify with that, and those deep desires and those deep needs, wants, sustainabilities. Um, that's where things can get really good. I don't think we want to like focus too far out and like look out into the distance, right? With this card. Why do we get the Three of Wands reversed? The World card reversed. It's like there's karma, right? I was talking about the eights and Saturn. Saturn's making a lot of aspects this week. There's karma that we're dealing with right now energetically, and it's like how we deal with those karma and the choices that we make, so that we can like take this next step into a new world. But I really think too with this card coming out, it's like, gosh, that old world is. It wants to keep us there. It wants to keep us trapped and almost like looking out at all this empty promise for something. And a lot of that's like intuitive um, channeling, not so much just based on the cards. But we want to like deal with some of this inner stuff. We want to deal with some of these last minute changes and switches so that we can purify. And it's through those changes and that internal change that I really think that we deal with a little bit of karma to dedicate to a direction that's going to bring us beauty and harmony and connections with the people and the relationships and all the things that we're going to need into the new world. But it's like you have to be willing to make those changes for yourself first before someone's going to come in and I guess I would say take that role with you. What's the overall for these? Eight of Cups upright. Yeah, it's a week. We're walking away from something. That's just how it goes with Venus in square to Pluto, especially with Venus in Libra. Whether it's a relationship, whether it's a person, or whether it's just you know, finally identifying with the aesthetic of life that's going to be the most balanced and harmonious for you. It's kind of like moving in a direction that's, you came, you saw, you checked it out, it didn't feel right, on to the places that are going to feel right. And, we got to deal with that dark moon in Leo. So it's almost like I said, there's this shadow coming into next weekend of like, is it okay to follow my heart right now? Or am I like the bad guy for doing that? And I just want you to know, like, if you have to walk away from something because your heart's telling you to, you're not the bad guy right now. Like, this part of the this is part of sort of the karma. You know, this is the card of Saturn, the world, right? There's a little bit of this like karmic undoing that I intuitively feel this week, but it's setting us free. So there's a sense of freedom that's coming with those internalized changes. I do love you all very much. I do appreciate everybody who tuned into the live show, and I really like doing these shows live and seeing the chat and talking and having my microphone on this time. So I appreciate you all. I hope you have a beautiful, beautiful, blessed week. I'll be here every day for the dailies, and I'll be doing donation-based readings this week as well. So if you see a live and you want to check out what the transits and your progressions are looking like and what's been hidden, what's hidden, I do that too for donation during the week live here. Love you all very much. Have a beautiful week. I'll catch you very soon. Peace. And we out.